Hi dear friends, I am Swadesh Modok. You are watching video from Impact, the Spoken English Club. Today, I would like to discuss the classification of relative clause. Dear friends, I think you know it very well what relative clause is. We know it very well. Relative clause or adjective clause does the function of an adjective. And what is the function of an adjective? The function of an adjective is to modify a noun or pronoun. Dear friends, relative clause also does the same function. I mean to say here, relative clause also modifies a noun or a pronoun. But in my today's topic, I am gonna discuss the classification of relative clause. I think this video will be very helpful to most of you. Okay, so get ready to listen. We can divide relative clause into 4 categories. Number 1, identifying clauses, or we can say identifying relative clauses. What does it mean? From the very name, it is clear to us that identifying clauses helps us to identify the noun. Actually, this clause says which one we mean. Okay, we can easily understand this from the given examples. Look at the examples carefully. Number 1, I can't find the book that I was reading. Dear friends, I have already underlined the relative clause, the identifying relative clause, that I was reading. Which book I want to mean here? Actually, I can't find the book that I was reading. This relative clause is helping here to identify the book. Okay, I can't find the book that I was reading. Have you understood? Look at the next example. The architect who designed the flat does not live here. Who is architect I am talking about? Who is architect? The architect who designed the flat. So, the relative clause who designed the flat helps to identify the noun. Here the noun is the architect. Okay? In the previous example, this relative clause also helps to identify the noun. Here the noun is the book. Okay? Next, number 2, classifying clauses. Classifying clauses, from the very name, it is clear to us this clause helps to classify the noun. Okay? Identifying relative clause helps to identify the noun. Classifying relative clause helps to classify the noun. Okay. By this clause, we can easily understand what kind we mean. Okay. This clause says us what kind we mean. Please look at the example. I hate people. What kind of people do I hate? Okay, I hate people who boast of their own activities. So, this clause helps to classify the noun. The noun here is people. Okay. Next example, we are looking for a man who always helps others. So, the underlined clause is classifying relative clause, who always helps others. This clause helps here to classify the noun. What kind I want to mean here? We are looking for a man. What kind of man? Who always helps others. Okay? So, this is an example of classifying relative clause. Number 3, adding clauses or adding relative clauses. This clause also simply helps us to add extra information about a noun. Okay, so the function of this clause is to add extra information or further information about the noun. Look at the example. I was taught by Professor Nitai Shah, who is an eloquent speaker. So the underlined clause is adding clause. This clause is just giving us a further information about the noun Professor Nitai Shah. Okay, so this is just giving us further information about the noun. Okay, look at the next example. My grandfather, who is 67 years old, has good eyesight. So the main information has been provided with the main clause. My grandfather has good eyesight, and the relative clause, who is 67 years old, it's not important here. It is just giving us a further information about my grandfather. So if we omit this relative clause, the sentence will not be affected. Okay, hope you have understood well. Next, the last one is connective clauses. Connective clauses, what kind of clause is this? This is also a relative clause. It can tell us what happened next. So this clause, this relative clause is used to tell us what happened next. It has a connection with the main clause. Okay, look at the examples. The first example, I shouted to the man who ran off. Okay, I shouted to the man. Then what happened next? What happened next? Who ran off? I can simply express these two statements by using two main clauses. I can say here, I shouted to the man and he ran off. Okay, so instead of using the main clause, another main clause, I have used here a connecting clause, which is also a relative clause. That's why it is called a connective clause or connective relative clause. Okay, look at the last example. The ball went to Jones. Then what happened next? Who scored easily? Okay, we can also use here main clause, another main clause. The ball went to Jones and he scored easily. Okay, so these two examples are of connective clauses. Okay, and at the time of writing, look at the differences, look at the distinctions among these four clauses. Okay, identifying clauses and classifying clauses, there is no use of comma, but in these two clauses, adding clauses and connective clauses, we have used here comma. Okay, look at the example. I was taught by Professor Nitai Shah, comma, who is an eloquent speaker. Okay, then connective clauses, I shouted to the man, comma, who ran off. So this is the using of comma in these two clauses is an important feature, and at the time of speaking we generally pause, okay, before making or before pronouncing this clause, this statement. Dear friends, I hope you have understood very well. It is transparent to all of you, and if you want to watch more videos like this and all the details of all the clauses, please subscribe the channel and share the videos as much as possible. Okay, today up to this. Thank you.